The most important thing in the world is health, because you have nothing if you're dying. Second thing is family and friends who you love. And the third is money, because it's everything else. The smartest thing the rich people ever did was convince the broke people that money doesn't make you happy. Biggest scam alive, because money is freedom. It's freedom to drive what you want, eat where you want, go where you want. Money is freedom. So you want to say money doesn't buy happiness, well then you're saying you're happy to be a slave, because only money is going to give you freedom. So money absolutely is happiness, because freedom is a bare minimum requisite to happiness. I can't think of many scenarios where being rich was a detriment over being poor. There's not many. I think money is a bare minimum requirement for happiness, especially if you're a masculine man who wants to outcompete. Then you need money, because money is basically everything. And they've convinced people, the poor people, oh yeah, he has money, but you know, I have friends and family who love me. So do I. People are psyoped into thinking that rich people are somehow lacking somewhere else. And I'm sure some of them are, but not all of them. There are some people that have everything, you're just gonna have to accept it. Some people just have it all. They have friends and family and good relationships and love their kids and a bunch of money. And if that doesn't anger you to get up and make a bunch of money, well, I don't know what will. The solutions I've come up with in my mind, of course, are money, because money is power. I want people to understand that when we talk about how money is the root of all evil. Money is also the root of all good. Money is the vested time and interest of other humans. If you have a bunch of money, you have the stored energy of other people. I'll give you a very simple example. I have money, so I can get somebody to sweep my floor. I have their stored time and energy in a note or on a bank balance, where I can make them sweep the floor for as many hours as I so choose, because I can afford to pay them. It's the stored time and energy of other people. So for evil to be done, it requires the time and energy of humans, and for good to be done, it requires the time and energy of humans. So money is like gunpowder. It can be used for good, it can be used for bad. It's like germ theory. You can save people's lives, or you can create a pathogen that decimates a populace. So it can go both ways. Money is certainly an answer, because if you're completely broke, it's hard for you to influence other people and influence the world by extension. So money is super important. And the other thing I think is important is fraternity and brotherhood, and living for something larger than just money itself. I've never in my life seen anyone who's determined to get something not get it. I've never seen somebody who is determined in their heart to get something not get it. The universe and God is so giving and providing. People think it's difficult out here. I disagree. I've never seen someone wake up and say, nah, this is all I care about. This is all I want. Not get it. Everyone who thought that way in fighting was a world champion. Everyone who thought that way about money was rich. I've never seen anyone fail. Bro, I've seen people with no credit score and no job determined to get an R8 manage to get one on finance somehow. I've seen it. If it's all you want, you're going to get it.
You're going to find a way to
You're going to find a way.
Yeah.
People go, oh, I want this. If you wanted it, you'd have it. People often say, if you try your best, it's okay to fail. But what they don't understand, the true secret to the universe, is that if you try your best, you never fail.
Yeah.
That's what people don't understand. And most people aren't trying. They aren't trying. They don't know what trying is. People are genuinely not out here giving their absolute best, because if you were, you'd have everything you've ever desired. You'd have anything you've ever wanted and asked for. Instead, what people do is they cope and convince themselves they're trying. Oh, I tried, but I need a work-life balance, and it's hard, and I was trying. All garbage, all code. I can't stop myself working as a person who doesn't need money. And then there's people with no money who don't work. It blows my mind, which is why the winners are winners and the losers are losers. Losers do a little bit of work and rest. Winners work as hard as possible and worry they're not working hard enough. It's just a separation of personality types. I have something I sent in my email recently. I said, you could give the average man a brand new Ferrari and a road map and a coffee and a full tank of gas and tell him the destination, success. And halfway along the drive, he'll quit because it's too far. No matter how well you set it up for people, they'll quit. It's over 10% into the year now. I wonder if anyone who made a New Year's resolution sits and says, it's over 10% into the year. Am I at 10% of my goal? Because your ass said you were going to be a millionaire when you were drunk on New Year's Eve. Well, you need to have 100 grand saved. Do you have 100,000? Have you even done the feedback on your own goal you made 30 short days ago to realize that you're nowhere near it and you're not going to make it? No. Oh, I got the rest of the year, and then wonder why they fail. You should have a daily target. Not enough people look back on what they did and identify where they made a mistake. And some people will do it when they lose.
But the true professionals do it when they win. When my dad was playing a chess game, if he won the game, he would still analyze the game and see if he could have lost, where it could have gone wrong, how he could have won faster, what mistakes he did make, what he did well, what he did wrong, win or lose. So many people will sit in a scenario where everything went wrong and go, in fact, correction, not so many people. I would say 75% of people will not ever self-analyze the situation they're in, they'll blame everyone else. If they went to jail like I did, they'd say, they put me in jail because they're liars and the Matrix did it. Fine. True. But when I was in jail, I was like, how did I get here? What did I do? What did I say? Who did I piss off? What institutions want me in jail? What did I do that angered them? Me. I'm taking absolute self-accountability for everything. I'm not blaming anything else, because if I blame everything else, I have no control. If I blame myself, then I can influence it. I have control over it. So 75% of people blame other people, or they blame other things. I lost my business because of COVID. No, you lost your business because of you. I lost my girl because her friends were No, you lost your girl because of you. You lost your car because of you. And it's all your fault, because that's the only thing that gives you control and power. The other 10%, we said 75, that's 85, now it has to be much higher. Let's say the other 20%, which brings up to 95% of total populace, will look at a situation in which they lose, and they might self-analyze, and they might try and learn from the loss, and they'll try and find the feedback involved in the loss to make sure they don't lose again, which is obviously better than not analyzing at all.
At all, yeah.
And the top 5%, the absolute highest echelon, are people who are going to analyze every decision they've ever made, win or lose. I analyze my wins as well.
See where you went right.
See where I went right, see where I went wrong, see where it worked. You need to analyze your whole life. Your life needs to be feedback.
You know, I always found the one thing that was always amazing to me, and this happened to me even just the other day. I'll be driving one of my 59 Supercross, and it's raining, and it's dark, and it's cold. And I see people at a bus stop, and I'm at the traffic light. It's freezing, and it's raining, and it's nighttime, and you can't afford an Uber. If that won't motivate you, I don't know what will. Because the worst thing about the bus isn't the bus, it's the time you wait for the bus. Time is money. You're gonna stand there for 45 minutes in the freezing cold and waste your time to save a couple dollars on an Uber, and you don't feel panic to get rich?
This is another thing that's amazing to me about motivation.
I don't feel motivated. Neither do I sometimes. You're not going to always feel like doing it. You have to do it anyway because it's your duty to do it, because you don't want to be a fucking loser. That's the whole point. If you felt like doing it all the time, then there would be no magic to it. The magic is that you do it regardless of how you feel. What do you mean you need motivation? You don't need motivation. You have a duty to not be a loser anymore because the hole in the sky is closing.
I think most normal people understand. If you were to ask them how's the economy, they'd say, well, it's impossible. I can't pay for my bills. I can't pay to eat. I can't afford a house. I can barely afford my mortgage. I'm never going to get rich this way. They understand all of this, but they're not panicking. And people are sitting here now going, oh yeah, the economy's bad, but maybe if we vote for this person, who are you going to vote for that's going to put money in your pocket actually come along and say, here's money? Nobody. Still got to pay your council tax, still a brokey, nobody cares. No one you vote for is going to change it. It's going to get worse, it's going to continue. And you know the boat is going to sink and you're not panicking. That's why I kind of catch myself. And one of the things I try very hard not to do is become elitist. Because when you've come from the absolute bottom to the absolute top, and you've done it all off of your own back, and hard work and dedication and never missing a day. The only shortcut to life is to never miss a day. One, because of compounding interest, and two, because sometimes you get lucky. And you'll never miss a lucky day if you try every day. If you don't try every day, you might miss your lucky day. And that's what people don't understand. If you never miss a day and you never don't try and you're always on time, was I late today? No, on time, and you try and improve every aspect of your life, and you're a professional, and you try and make sure that you analyze your decisions, you give yourself feedback, you don't make mistakes, you're not lazy. If you try and you make it to the top, you end up elitist, because you look at the people down below and you're like, well, why didn't you try? I did.
I think men are happy when they feel better. I think we're naturally competitive. That's why we've always done what we've done. Why did Genghis Khan leave Vienna? Bro, that's Austria. Look at a map. Why did he need Vienna? It took him probably 3 months to even hear they were at Vienna. By the time he got the message, they probably already conquered it. Why did he need it? Because he won. Why do I need the stuff I have? Because other people can't have it. It's mine. And I think that's where masculine happiness comes from. Because I think men are happy when they feel respected. And you're going to respect yourself if you look around and you have things other people don't have. Why do I walk into the showroom and buy the 2 available cars that I don't want? Because it's one man's dream and now another man can't buy it. Why do you play sports?
To win.
To win. Why do you want to put a ball in a net more times than the other people? To show that you're better than them at putting a ball in a net. How insignificant an action. A ball in a net. Who cares? A much more significant action would be making a bunch of money, or being physically stronger, or a better fighter, or being smarter, a quicker talker, or being more well-known, more respected, more influential. That's far more important than putting a ball in a net. And you'll spend your time putting a ball in a net to prove you're better than other people. So don't sit and say that I'm a bad person for proving I'm better than everyone else by all the things I'm doing. That's masculine competition. If there's a game being played, and some men realize it's a battle, and some men don't realize there's a battle going on, how can they possibly win? So some of you men are waking up every day not realizing you're in a forever permanent competition with every single man around you. For everything. All of the time. And that doesn't ever cross your mind and you wonder why you permanently lose. Well, it crosses my mind and that's why I'm beating you. Women want the men who think this way. Women want the men who understand this. Who win. That's what women want. So, you can call it arrogant, you can call it egotistical. I call it winning. I call it realism. I call it realistic. And the best things about having most of the things I have is that other people can't have them. That's the bottom line of it. It's the reason why billionaires buy a bigger yacht than the billionaire next to them. They do not need an extra 20 feet of deck space. They want the biggest yacht in the harbor. It's the reason why they buy one of one Picassos. It's the reason why when Bugatti launch a new car with 80 units, they're all sold same day. That's why. Because winners all think the same way. And anyone who sits and goes, well, you should be more humble. I hear that sometimes. And then I look at who said it. And whenever someone tells me their opinion, this is a habit I give everyone at home. Whenever somebody gives you their opinion on anything, listen to the opinion and then stop and look at who told it to you. Because you never want to adopt the thinking of somebody who you don't want to be. Because their thinking made them. So whatever they believe in their mind is why they are the person they are. So if somebody sits and says to you, you should be more humble. I sit and think, okay, this is how my brain works. He believes I should be more humble. That's how his mind operates. The closer my mind operates to his mind, the more likely I am to be like him. Who is he? And I'll look at the person who said that to me and say, no way. Because most people who talk about humble, all they really want is to not be reminded of how they have failed. They don't want me to make it clear to them that they have failed. They have failed. I feel like normalcy has been changed from being a winner to being a loser.
In the 60s, you could be a normal man who worked in a factory, an unskilled labor job, and with one wage, you could afford a house, you could afford a car, you could afford to raise a family, your children would not be taught garbage in school, your wife would respect you, you'd have a home-cooked meal.
Times are good.
Times are good. All the things I said about playing Uno earlier in Hyperbole are true. What matters most? Your wife loves you. You're respected as the breadwinner. Your kids respect you. They listen to you. Your house is clean. Your house is safe. Your car works. Your life is good.
So now being normal is just losing in a way which is so familiar to the people around you are losing that you don't realize you've lost it all. Because everyone's losing. So you're like, oh, I'm just normal. No, you've all lost. You've all lost. None of you are free. You've all lost. And that's even more scary. You can't even be normal anymore. To be a winner, you have to be exceptional. You could be a winner as a normal person only 50, 60 years ago. Now the normal people can't even win. So you need to be able to do amazing things and then be proud of yourself. Don't sit and think you're great for no reason. That is arrogance. I'd argue that the normal person who thinks they're so unique and great for no reason is more arrogant than me. The problem with most people in the world today is not that they do a normal thing, it's that they do a normal thing and they don't try to be the best at it. So you can be a barista and you can just make coffees, or you can be a barista that makes the fancy coffees and can turn over all the cups and do like the tricks and all the garbage. We have a man who became a billionaire from salt.
Yes.
From salt. You can all put salt on, he did it the best. Bam. So the first thing you need to do is get very good at making coffees. That's the first thing you need to do. Be able to do it in a fancy way. Then you need to solicit attention. When you can make coffees in a fancy way, you can hire a videographer. You can then begin to make fancy coffees in a fancy way, and you can make it look good with a finalized product, and you can get a nice video made that's well cut with some fancy music. You can begin to put them on Instagram and solicit people to watch your Instagram page. Now you have attention. How do you then turn that attention into money after you began to show your fancy coffees? Well, you could, let's say, put together a course or an academy or write a book on the magic of coffee or the secrets of coffee. And you would put a mystery on it. Don't say, I'll teach you how to make coffee. No, say the secrets of coffee. You'd have a link in your Instagram page, and it would be $9, and it would tell people the secrets how to make coffee, for example. You'd start to sell that for $9. You'd make a couple hundred or a couple thousand, not too much, but you continue to make fancy coffees. People continue to go to your Instagram page. You're now selling the secrets of how to make coffee. Then, after people start knowing you as being a barista, you start to make these $9. You have $20,000, $30,000 in the bank. What you can do is launch your own coffee brand. You can go to Alibaba.com, you can find some coffee beans, you can put your face on it because your face is now a recognized brand. You can get your own coffee beans, you can begin to sell them on Instagram. Before you know it, you're making $10,000 or $15,000 a month. You can start to do tours. You can start to put posters on your Instagram or in your Instagram stories saying, I'm going to do master classes on how to make coffee, 20 people only, $1,000 each at this premium barista specialty coffee shop in London. The coffee shop will allow you to do it for free because they want people to know, get the advertising from you and your brand. You'll charge $1,000 each. That's 20 grand for a day. They teach people how to pour milk in a cup. Boom. You've got a coffee brand. You've got an online school. You're doing seminars. You put in a little bit of effort. Now you drive a Ferrari. Done. It is that easy to get rich in the world today if you actually try. If you try. Instead, he'll go to work every day, make the coffees, go home, off. Some people are so lazy that they will work every day instead of get rich. And they think because they're working every day that they're not lazy. Everything I just told you about that could work for an electrician. The same thing. Teach people how to wire a plug. Who gives it? You'll make some money if you try. So I think the best mental model of a man is to understand that you cannot be normal. You need to be exceptional. You need to do exceptional things. That ties into the exceptionally good and the exceptionally bad, like we talked earlier. Which means you need to be hard on yourself so you can deal with the exceptionally bad. And if you start to do all these things, they all compound. Everything I've said across all these hours all tie into each other, and you end up in one result. You end up in one place, which is brutal competence, brutal masculine competence. There's nowhere else to be. Nothing will save you besides your own brutal competence. Or I believe that getting rich is one of the best things you can possibly do to help save the world. Could be. And I'm not happy with who it is. And I think that every man should be like that, so he gets up off his ass and does something.
I learned my mindset in battle. My mindset is 87 professional fights. My mindset was learned in the reality of the real world.
Yeah. Your winner, fighting out of the blue corner, from the USA, Andrew, the King Cobra, Tate!
I don't know if the fire inside of me is any bigger than it is inside of every other man. And I think that every man at home watching this, if they don't have the things they want in life, should feel a degree of resentment towards themselves or disappointment, understanding that they have the same desire and drive that I have. Mm-hmm. They just allowed themselves to be psyoped out of it.
I don't believe in the societal paradigms in which they have tried to construct this idea of happiness. I don't believe or subscribe to the way that happy and sad is currently understood by the masses of the population. My mindset is 87 professional fights. My mindset was learned in the reality of the real world. Yeah. I don't need to read a self-help book. I don't need to read about motivation or confidence. I think if you are anything less than absolutely distraught, you are happy. You're a version of happy. It's like saying gray is a version of black, right? No matter how light the gray is, you can still call it a version of black. And unless you've gone through an event, which hopefully doesn't happen too often, like the passing of a family member or something that's truly destructive and detrimental to your mindset, besides these events, which hopefully only happen a few times in your life, you should be happy. If you're not crying or paralyzed in silence due to the absolute magnitude of a detrimental circumstance or the absolute magnitude of a negative event, then you are a version of happy. So I am always happy is the short answer. I don't believe in not being happy. I don't believe in not saying to myself I'm happy. I'm always a version of happy. And this idea of chasing happiness and always being concerned and preoccupied with how happy you are is actually the biggest mistake that a lot of people make, I think, in the world today. Especially men who wake up and go, oh, I don't really feel happy, so I need to get happier. And that's how they end up down a hedonistic path of drugs or alcohol or gambling, chasing pleasure. I don't care how I feel. Yeah. I don't care if I feel happy or sad. It doesn't really affect what I do each day. I do the exact same things. I act the exact same way. I don't care. Yeah. I don't put weight to the significance of the emotion. So I always consider myself a happy person, but if I woke up and I was slightly less happy one day than another, it wouldn't affect anything I do, and I wouldn't put any relevance to it. I'm human, and that's life. And so, am I any happier now that I have hundreds of millions of dollars than before I was broke? Yeah. Not really, but I was never unhappy. I'm the same state that I was then that I am now. I have work to do, and I will do it. It's as simple as that. But also, there's no light without dark. And there's no joy without pain. You can't have a rainbow without a little rain. Exactly. And no matter how hard you chase pleasure and happiness, there's going to be dips and troughs in between. There's going to be come downs and downtrends. And you're going to have the juxtaposition between that time you were laughing your head off and acting giddish like a child and the time that you feel depressed as such. And I think it's much better to just adopt a very disciplined, stoic mindset. I'm always the same base level of happy regardless. If I lost all of my money today, I would be the same happy. Mm-hmm. If my net worth quadrupled, I'd be the same happiness. Yeah. As long as I'm alive, which is a struggle, unfortunately, in the current climate, but as long as I'm alive and the people I care about and love are alive, and as long as God gives me the honor of doing my duties and providing for the people I care about, as long as I get to wake up and know that there's a whole bunch of people in the world who need me and I get to work hard to please them and do good for society and good for the world, then I'm a vessel of God and I'm happy enough to survive. That's all I look at it as. I don't ever consider how do I feel. That doesn't cross my mind. I have things to do. I have things to do.
You're too busy to think about that.
I'm too busy. I have things to do every single day. I have very important things to do, and how I feel really is not going to affect how I complete those tasks.
Right.
And when I speak to men, they say I'm unhappy or I need to be happier. I think that's absolutely the wrong frame of life. You're a man, you have duty, you have honor, you have things you should be doing regardless of how you feel. And the people who are perma-obsessed with happiness or sadness, I just think it's the wrong paradigm to view the lens of life. I think you should get up and do what needs to be done. I learned my mindset in battle. My mindset is 87 professional fights. My mindset was learned in the reality of the real world. Yeah. I don't need to read a self-help book. I don't need to read about motivation or confidence. I've been in the cage smashing people's faces in. I don't need to learn any of that stuff. So I learned in reality, and reality is always going to be a better teacher than a book, because you're not learning when you read books. You're regurgitating. You may be reading, but I don't believe you're truly learning. My coach used to say, if it doesn't hurt, you didn't learn. And I think he's completely right. And it's the same with entire life. You see people make the same mistake over and over again until it eventually goes really wrong. Yeah. And it's only then they'll change.
Then they change.
So absolutely. So I learned how to become self-disciplined and become self-motivated and work hard, and I learned how to face adversity and find strength within myself I didn't know I had, because people were trying to kill me inside of a cage. I think as a young man, if you want to get your life better, the most important thing you have are your waking hours. You need to be out competing all the other people on the planet who are hyper competitive, and if you think you have 8 hours to sit there and just read a book, you are wasting your time. You are too slow, and you are going to lose against people like me, because we're just too quick. Too fast. Our networks are too various and large, and we make decisions too quickly, and we absorb information too quickly, and you're just behind it. I understood from a young age I had to stick up for myself and defend my ideas, and my ideas were always different, and I was always an outcast, I guess, to a degree, and that certainly played a part later on in my life, because it's been very easy for me to look at the programming the Matrix is trying to push down my throat and just say no. Dad had his own philosophies. We definitely never read any philosophical books. We didn't study any old philosophers, but he'd say things now which you can even still see his Twitter. If you want to see a philosopher, you can go through his Twitter now and see all of the things he was saying when he was still alive. Yeah. But I think life is actually pretty simple. There's action and reaction. There's cause and effect. Mm-hmm. There's brave people and there's cowards. A lot of people are self-interested. And if you understand the basis of these motivations, it's not difficult to work out why the world functions the way it does. And cause and effect and action and reaction are very real. And I think one of the largest plagues we have in the world today is a lack of action amongst people. And deciding not to act is an action in and of itself, right? And And that's the only philosophy you need for life. If you want something to move, you have to move it. If you sit and wait for somebody else to move it, you're a coward. Yeah. You're just hoping it's going to happen. And that's why I don't understand when a lot of people who see where the world is going and see the future that's going to be laid out for their children kind of just hope and pray. A lot of people, I think all men are born with a masculine desire to conquer Earth. And I think you're only going to be happy if you're conquering. But if you're living a semi-comfortable life and your mother is nice to you and you're not under any pressure and the Matrix is telling you it's fine to just be average, well, then you're going to be sitting there being average. I was never comforted. I was never given an easy life. I never had anyone in my life who was saying, don't worry, Andrew, it's okay to just be this guy. I was told the opposite all the time. I don't know if the fire inside of me is any bigger than it is inside of every other man. And I think that every man at home watching this, if they don't have the things they want in life, should feel a degree of resentment towards themselves or disappointment, understanding that they have the same desire and drive that I have. They just allowed themselves to be psyoped out of it. They've allowed the Matrix or whoever to convince them it's okay to not be the man they could be. And I never allowed anybody to do that to me. I know that I'm right because the way I think allows me to be correct in every scenario I've ever been in. I know when someone's going to hurt me. I know when my time's almost up. I know how to make a bunch of money. I know all of it. I've never been wrong about anything. Every time I've ever been truly sad, again, it was beneficial for me to feel that way. And yes, there was a point when that was semi-conscious and now it's not conscious at all. If I start to feel angry, it's not conscious. I am angry completely and utterly, and I trust my body and my spirit that I'm supposed to be angry and I'm supposed to act within that frame. And that's what true enlightenment is, because thinking outside of it and being conscious of it is good, but it takes time. And often in the most extreme scenarios of life, the one thing you will not have is very much time. There has to be instant and complete decisions. And there has to be final scenarios, what's the word I'm looking for? Consequences. The bad things that are happening to you are what you need to become the man that you want to be. I can't talk about women because I'm not one. I actually think trauma is terrible for women because it masculinizes them. They become cold. And that's not attractive, right? We want feminine, pure, protected women. I don't want a woman to ever go through anything bad in her life. I think a man should go through it for her and protect her, because I think that's how she's her best self as a woman. But I think to be your best self as a man is the absolute opposite. And when someone emails me and says, this has happened to me, I'm like, good. No, what do you mean good? It's terrible. How else are you going to become important? How else are you going to find endless fire to get up and struggle in the face of the competition that's out here in the world? How else are you're going to do all that with a nice, cushy life? If any man's honest with himself, think about the biggest transformative stages in your life. Think about the times you got the most work done. It was a bad part of your life. You were heartbroken, or, you lost a house, or broke, or whatever. That's when you did shit. When everything was fine, when the woman's still sucking dick, the mortgage is paid, dinner's on time, it's kind of doop-de-doop-de-doo. Little by little, do a little bit of work, do a little bit of relax. But the big events come from trauma. This is it. So it's a cheat code. It's a cheat code to climb the mountain. So when I get a message from whoever and he goes, my wife left me, I'm devastated. I say, I understand. I completely understand how hard it can be to lose a woman that you've given your entire life to. And you've done so many nice things. And then because of one thing you did, her innate and absolutely insane level of ungratefulness has turned her bitter, and she now talks to you like she hates you over one thing you've done after thousands of efforts showing how dedicated you are to her. And even now that you're prepared to die for her, she doesn't give a shit about you. I understand that pain. But my answer is, good. It's still good. Now take all of that pain, and instead of emailing me, do this. And then you're going to become the kind of person that women don't leave. And you win.
I'm ready to kill. I don't do this for fun. This is not sport to me. I don't enjoy it. I hate training. I hate fighting. This is war. I was born for this. I have no choice. I'm in there to kill. That's it. Pain. That's all I know.
So for someone to come along and try and convince me that my mental model and my way of viewing the world is inaccurate, it's going to be extremely difficult, because I'm going to sit and say, well, my mental model produces X. to this accuracy, and you're a dumbass. So what can you predict, my friend? And that's the reality of the world. So my stories are being told, the lessons of them at least, when I'm speaking. Yes, I am misunderstood. I'm misunderstood because the things I say are a large web of nuance, and they're interlinked. And if you take one individual part from the web, then completely I understand how some things can be massively misunderstood. I also understand that most people have no interest in the truth and no interest in digging deeper and finding out the truth about a person or a scenario. If you have 2 arms and 2 legs and you can think, and you're not trying your absolute best, that's the reason you're not lucky. He doesn't like you. He likes the people which show him the beauty of his own creation. He likes to give somebody building blocks and them to build something amazing. It's the best thing about being a man. You have to build who you are, right? You can decide if you want to be a funny comedian or a musician or a kickboxing world champion or fight the Matrix. You can decide whatever you want to be. God loves to see that. Those people, for some reason, seem to be enormously lucky, right? The person who goes, I don't have to prove anything to God. I don't owe all of my ancestors any effort. You know, for 5,000 years, people were dodging saber-toothed tigers and catching the plague and running from Genghis Khan just for my stupid ass to be born. I don't owe them anything. I don't owe them a thing because I want to play video games. These people are fucking losers. You should walk through Earth with force inside of you. As I walked into this hotel reception, everybody looked. Not because they know who I am, but because as I move, even if it's behind their head, people feel something and they go, it's an energy that comes from brutal competence. It's almost like an evolutionary thing where a rabbit can just smell a fox. It just knows. That's what happens when a predator walks in a room, even amongst humans. You pay attention next time you're in a restaurant. If a man who's truly dangerous walks in, nearly every other man kind of looks up at the same time. You feel it. You need to or you don't survive. We've evolved with that to live. That's who I am. I couldn't imagine not being that man. I've done that because I've been trying to prove myself to my lineage my entire life. I wake up every day with something to prove. I have hundreds of millions of dollars. I wake up and think, fuck, more. I'm in fantastic shape, 4 times world champion. Fighting the Matrix out here by myself, more. I will have to be braver. I must try harder. All I do is prove myself. So when I hear people go, I don't have nothing to prove, then you're a fucking loser. Peasants have never felt like they needed to prove anything. But kings felt like they needed to go and conquer land. Isn't that it's coincidental that the king, who already had it all, felt like he needed to go to some far-flung land and conquer it and take it and prove he's the king. But the peasants, oh, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. You're a fucking loser then. You're a dummy. I absolutely and utterly completely have everything to prove to everybody all of the time. That's who I am. I will prove anything to anybody. If I sit and say X, I will prove it to anyone. I can be checked at any time. If someone would have come up to me in that lobby and argued with my ideas, I would have proved that my ideas are sound. If they would have attacked me, I would have destroyed them completely and absolutely. That's who I am. So yes, I have a lot to prove, my friend. And until the day I die, it will remain. And this is the true height of the slave mind. If you can convince somebody to have a strong emotional reaction about a subject they don't even understand, imagine the level of slave these people are. Imagine if every time you saw the color red, you just lost your mind. You're a slave. You're controlled. Every single time I've been furiously angry or even in a murderous rage, it's been a very appropriate time to be so. And I don't mean appropriate because of the reasoning. I'm not saying I had a good reason to be angry. I'm saying that it was the best decision at the time. Every time I've ever been truly sad, again, it was beneficial for me to feel that way. There are times in life when murderous rage is the best possible option on the table. There are times in life where if you're genuinely threatened, the best possible emotion you can feel is murderous rage, right? There's times when it's appropriate. There's times when it's good to be sad, and there's times when it's good to be empathetic, and there's times when it's good to be ruthlessly psychopathically cold. So I think enlightenment is making sure that your brain and soul and spirit are trained in a way that the emotions you feel at any given time are the best possible card in the deck. Of all the options you have in the playbook, depending on the scenario, your own spirit gives you the exact perfect way to feel to handle that scenario in the most effective and compendious way possible.
I knew I needed to become successful and become a kickboxer and get money. And I knew all of these things from a very young age. And I remember being 17, 18, seeing a Ferrari on the street and being like, fuck, I need to get one of them. I just kind of knew inside. And I knew it, and it's worked out for me. That's all great. But now I use hypergamia against women completely because I know that they'd rather share an alpha than have 100% of a beta.
Right.
I know that even though they may sleep with me and then cry their eyes out the next day because I'm with some other girl, but I know they're not going to leave. If you always have a higher purpose, then a woman can never truly control you, and she can never truly destroy you, and your frame can't be broken. If I had to go train for a fight and the girl was complaining, well, then she could fuck off and leave because I ain't getting my ass kicked for nobody. Not you or no one else. I have to go fight in front of 10,000 people, so I don't care if it's your birthday. I'm going to the fucking gym.
I don't care. Put someone in front of me. Put someone in front of me. That's all I have to say.
Do I enjoy training? No. Do I enjoy cutting weight? No. Am I nervous? Yes. Do I think to myself, what am I doing? Yes. Completely. Unfortunately, it's one of those things you're either born with or you're not. And the only way I can explain it to try and make it make any sense is that if I'm not doing something which is either extremely difficult or extremely stressful, I'm in a perpetual state of crippling boredom. I can't explain it. I see other people live their lives and they're like, oh, I can't wait for the weekend because I want to watch this movie. I think, who cares about a movie? You're looking forward to the weekend for a movie? Looking forward to the weekend to get drunk? Like, these things to me are so mundane. They mean nothing. And if I don't fight, if I'm not in a situation where I'm stressed or worried or concerned, I'm just perpetually bored. And boredom's crippling. If you're an intelligent person and you've got a good brain on your shoulders, you can't just sit there bored, you know? So most smart people take the academic route to avoid boredom. They learn, but that's never really interested me either. Although I've always been an intelligent guy and I've always done well academically, it never really interested me. And then I see people climb Mount Everest or jump off buildings or do base jumping, or the guy who jumped from space. People think, what's he doing? He's crazy. I understand. Because some people can't live normal lives. Some people cannot just function 9 to 5 office job, get drunk at the weekends. That is not for some individuals, and it's not for me. So I have to find something which keeps me physically tired enough to stop me going AWOL, and mentally tired enough. And I've chosen fighting, because without this, when I'm not in training, I wake up every day and think, okay, what am I going to do today? It's 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, I'm bored, everyone's at work, I'm bored, and I'll end up doing something crazy. I'll either end up drunk, or on the Eurostar, or, you know, it's just a random lifestyle, because I'm constantly looking for never-ending entertainment, and it doesn't exist. I think the only thing that could stop me fighting is if I had enough money to constantly entertain myself. Unless I'm a billionaire, I need something that keeps me focused and keeps me occupied in life. With fighting, I have to train twice a day, and I have to train hard, and the stress it brings in every aspect can replace fun, and my mind is occupied. It occupies me. It's the only way I can try and explain it. It occupies me, and I could never stop doing this even if I lost 100 fights, because I'm not built to live a normal existence. I can't do it. I couldn't just have a kid with some girl and sit at home and work a little bit and relax. I've never relaxed my entire life. I don't know what relaxing is. It's just not me.
So I always had a higher purpose, and that allowed me naturally to build a frame where I learned that it's better to never submit, and that relationships are happier if I never submitted. So I always kind of had that. So I kind of learned everything I knew by just being preoccupied with something completely separate. And it was something that took a lot of my time and 100% of my concentration. So that's kind of where I learned my frame. And now even when I stopped fighting, my frame's the same. I believe the most miserable existence on earth is living a life pretending to be something you're not. I really believe it. And that's why I don't for a second hide what I do or apologize to anybody. If you look at what I do and it offends you, the hate is inside of you. The hate ain't inside of me. You need to go look in the mirror and deal with your own problem. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. And I'm the same with women. If you get with me and then you start complaining about how I am, you better fucking leave, because I'm not.
Like women try and say, why do you still live with your brother? Why don't you want to live with me? Da-da-da. And I try and explain to them that, one, I don't think I can be my most competitive without him. Two, I'm most emotionally stable with him. I like the idea. I'm most competitive with him. I'm my best version of me. If it doesn't matter if I have to go into a fight, doesn't matter if I have to run a business, I'm better with Tristan by my side than I would be by myself. And three,
my ideal family life, even my ideal family, the way I live my life now, is very much more like a clan than a nuclear family. I like me, my girl, my kids, Tristan, his girl, his kids, my cousin, his girl, his kids. I like this idea of lots of people. I like that. I like that feeling. So girls say to me, well, you don't want a family. Like, no, I want a family bigger than you want. I just don't want to just sit with you. I want a lot of people around me, and I think it's better for that, and I think it's better for the children especially also. I think they enjoy it more. But yeah, I've got the best brother on the planet. I truly do. And this is why I'm saying some of our best days of our lives are in jail.
If I feel extremely happy and excited, I'm going to use that as motivation or energy to do amazing things and do good and work hard. If I feel absolutely depressed and distraught, I'm going to use that as endless energy and motivation to do amazing things and work hard. It doesn't matter what you give me. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be converted and transferred. It doesn't matter what fuel you give me. If you give me diesel, petrol, kerosene, vodka, doesn't matter what you put inside of my engine.
Hard work is going to come out.
Absolutely.
Success.
That's all I know how to do.
Yeah.
That's all I know how to do. It doesn't matter what fuel you put in my engine. My engine only knows how to do one thing, and that is succeed. That's all I know how to do.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you feed me with. I'm going to be massively successful regardless.
Yeah.
Doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
I was now the oldest man alive in the Tate family. I had to look after my mother and my siblings and take care of people. I had to make a choice. Do I fly back to America and spend money and time and go to this funeral and, waste a few weeks? Or do I sit here and just focus on this enterprise and make sure that it cannot fail? And we talked earlier about speed. Most people go, it's only 2 weeks. It's only a week. It's only a week. People who say it's only a week are the people who are broke.
They don't value time.
That's the reason you're all poor, because you say it's only a week. So, it's tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it later. It's only an hour. It's only a day. It's only a minute. You are competing against people like me. We do not waste a second.
I just personally could never sleep at night knowing, I got 100 million in property, I'm good. Because I'd be like, I don't have anything. I have to be quiet and I have to be careful. And if they don't like me, they'll get me. That to me doesn't feel like ownership. Ownership is they can't take that off of me. That's true ownership. So you don't own property. It's a scam. It's a lie. Let me give you a quick story. I bought an Aston Martin DBS 3 months ago. I pulled up outside the hotel. I bought it in London. I pulled up at the hotel. I parked in the double yellow. I left it there. Traffic warden was right there. So I'm going to give you a ticket. And I said, bro, have you ever seen James Bond look for parking? Give me a fucking ticket. Don't care. Put a ticket on it. Went in the hotel. Stayed in the hotel come on, I'm busy. Stayed in the hotel for 4 days. Ticket. It came out to a window. It was on my Instagram before they deleted it. A window of tickets. Now, how do they enforce those tickets? Well, we said they'll take your home off you, right? I don't own anything. I don't even own that car. And the car's not in the country anymore. It's sitting in my house in Bulgaria. So now what the fuck are you gonna do? So I got thousands of pounds of parking tickets, and guess what happened? Nothing. Zero. Because I don't play by the stupid rules the Matrix tells me to play by. If I was Joe Schmo and I ignored them, I would lose my home. But me, I could turn up, tell them to get fucked, and do whatever I want. And what you'll actually learn is that much like parking tickets, pretty much all laws on Earth and all rules on Earth have there's an economic level to which you must adhere, and there's an economic level to which you don't have to adhere. Anything that's financial in and of itself is basically saying it's okay for rich people to do anyway. Let's say I agreed to pay the fine. Cool. I didn't have to look for parking. I paid $3,000. That's worth 5 minutes of my time. So it's basically saying it's okay for a price. So it's okay for rich people. It's not okay for poor people. Whenever there's a fine as a punishment, they're basically saying no poors, no brokies, or rich people can do it. Look at banks. They make billions of dollars breaking the rules and pay $1 million fine. It's okay for the rich. Not allowed to do it for poor. If you do that, if you pull off some fraud as a brokey, guess what happens? Jail time. Do the bankers go to jail? Fucking never. This is the whole way the whole entire world works. So, extrapolating that out, yes, at a certain economic level, there are things you can do and Aikido you can pull that make property fantastic. But as a brokey, bullshit. That's the point. And jail as a whole, I mean, there's so many stories I can tell. There's so many different ways I remember it. There were times I laughed. I will sit and say some of the best days of my life were in jail.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And some of the worst days of my life were in jail. But there were days where me and Tristan, when we were finally in the same cell, there's times we laughed like we've never laughed before. I'll sit and admit that's absolutely not really true. I feel like if you're going to be the kind of person who strives for an exceptional life, which is what I am, I think I'd be a coward if I said I want an exceptional life, but I only want it to be exceptional in a good way. I don't think that's genuine.
I want an exceptional life. And exceptional means away from the norm. And away from the norm means flying your Bugatti on a jet to Dubai and taking your own plane to meet it there. And it also means a Romanian dungeon with cockroaches on New Year's Eve. They're both exceptional experiences. And the times I was with my brother and it was just him and I, we truly had some genuine days where we laughed like we always laugh. Me and him laugh and have fun on a private jet, and we laughed and had fun in a Romanian prison cell because that's just who we are. And I also have to give my brother some credit while we're here. I would like to state that I absolutely, genuinely believe I have the best brother in the world. And I'll tell you why. I always knew I had the best brother in the world, but he proved it in jail, and I'll tell you why. My brother was put in jail for being my brother. He hasn't said any videos. He hasn't said anything on the internet. He hasn't said any of the things I've supposedly said. He's never, the Matrix isn't attacking him. The BBC doesn't print about him, nothing. Why was Tristan Tate in jail? Because it's Tate brothers. So they just took him and threw him in a cell. Now what's interesting is, when I got out of jail, so many people near me got heat. Old business partners got heat with the tax. They got hit with like tax paperwork, and they were calling everyone who's ever known me, and ex-girlfriends got heat, and all these people got heat. And some people complained, some people didn't. But some people were like, oh, since you've been in jail, it's been so stressful for me. The media's outside my house. Like, stressful for you? I was in jail. What do you want me to do? And people were complaining at me. And as these people started to complain, I sat there, I said to Tristan, you got thrown in jail purely for being my brother. And never for a fraction of a second did you even moan. Not even for a fraction of a second did he say, oh, they only put me here because of you. Why am I here? I'm innocent. This has nothing to do with me. Nothing. In fact, he said the absolute opposite. He said, I am so glad I went to jail with you. I would be furious if they sent you here by yourself. If they're going to lock you up, they better lock me up. And there was a time, about 2 months in, because there's less media pressure on Tristan, they were talking about releasing Tristan first. And he was saying, no, I won't leave without Andrew.
Going down with the ship.
I won't leave unless my brother leaves.
Wow.
I won't leave. And he was telling the guards, I won't leave. Keep me here. I'm not leaving. And they said, the judge says you have to leave, you have to leave. He goes, then I will stand outside the gate. I will sleep outside. I ain't leaving this jail. And our lawyer said, well, we can make an appeal to just release you because there's less media scrutiny around you. And Tristan's like, no, Andrew's in jail. I'm in jail. Refused to leave. He was adamant he had to stay. That's a brother for me. And it was the same for me. I said to Tristan, if they came into me and said, Andrew, go home, I'd be like, no way. Tristan's in jail, I'm in jail. We're in jail together. He never for a second complained, never bitched, never moaned. And he was only in jail for being my brother. And then I come out and there's other people, oh, they sent me a piece of paper, blah, blah, blah. You're moaning? It's unbelievable. You truly learn, like I said, jail confirms everything you already knew about the world. And you truly learn who's on your side and who isn't. And that's good to learn, but it's actually crazy. The larger psychological analysis of it all, everyone lives inside their own minds, right? So it's kind of crazy. I came out of jail and some of the first messages I got from people was them complaining about the problems me being in jail had given. Like, you think that wouldn't happen, right? You think, oh, you come out of jail, people would be like, oh, are you okay? They're like, oh, you're okay? You're out now? Okay, yeah, well, listen, Mo. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. And I'm like, I was in jail. What do you want me to do? Yeah, that sounds unfortunate. I was in a jail cell. What do you want me to do about it? It's kind of crazy how much everyone's kind of self-interested. So it's been a learning curve, and you learn a lot about a lot of different people, and your circle gets smaller. And I think that's probably one of the reasons God put me in there, to just learn a lot and make my circle smaller. And you just have to listen to him and pay attention to it and say, okay, all right, you're off, you're off, you're off, you're on, you're on, you're on. But my brother, I have to give him credit, because I tell you, I also think me and Tristan are one of the best teams in the world because we have different roles inside of our brotherhood. My role is to be concerned and to panic. Not panic, that's the wrong word. I never panic. My role is to be concerned and try and fix the problem. I'm in jail, pacing up and down. How do we get out? And Tristan's role is to not care. And together, that helps us achieve the objective best. Because when we really need to get out, I'm in charge. His role is to not care. Sometimes, when it was at the height of frustration, I needed his superpower. Tristan's superpower, and this is his superpower for life, is he is the master of not giving a fuck. We would go to court. Imagine this. You're in jail, right? Weekends were the worst.
because the TV was worse on weekends for some reason. Like you had like 3 channels. The TV, the weekends were the worst, and you could hear out the window everyone having fun. I hated weekends. So when a Friday would roll around, I'd say, okay, Tristan, we just have to zen away the weekend. And on Monday, there's court. We just have to zen away the weekend. So for the weekend, we just sit there staring at the wall. Intrusive thoughts, can't sleep, all those things you're trying to get out your brain, just sitting in silence because the room's tapped, just staring at the wall, just staring at the wall. And you think Monday would never come. And Monday would eventually come, right? Or Sunday night comes, and 8 a.m. on Monday, they're going to take you to court. And they might let you go home. They might let you go home. You've done nothing. This person in this room can decide if you go home. And it's Sunday night and you can't sleep and you're awake all night long. There's no clock. But you just, the seconds feel like hours. You're just sitting there. Eventually 8 a.m. comes. Put you in handcuffs, walk you to the court. You walk in there. Everyone speaks Romanian. Don't have a clue what's going on. Everyone's just talking at each other in Romanian. Then they say you'll get the answer in 3 hours. Go back to jail. When I went back to jail, I was sitting in the room. I was like, do I pack to go home? No, that's too optimistic. Okay. But you're nervous. You're anxious. Am I going to go home? Is it over? Do I get to go home? I called the lawyer. Do you have an answer yet? No, no answer yet. Okay. Sitting there. I can barely sit still. Tristan finishes court, walks straight into the room. It's a matrix attack. It's bullshit. I'm going to sleep. And went to bed. Clean asleep. I was like, how the fuck are you asleep? He didn't care at all.
Gotta respect
He just went straight to bed. And then when he woke up like 6 hours later, matrix attack? I'm like, yeah, you thought so. He just rolled back over. Didn't care.
But it's perfect for a guy like you.
But that's what you need. I need that.
I agree.
Because if I had someone else next to me as hyped as me, I would have gone insane.
I agree.
I need someone like him who's just like, he had the superpowers like, bro, I love jail. Jail's great. Look, we got coffee. I love jail. None of my women are messaging me. I love jail. I'm telling you, I had 45 minutes on the phone a day, and I used all of my minutes. Tristan never made a single phone call from jail.
Get out of here.
Not one. I was like, Tristan, do you want to speak to anyone? Nah. Sitting there watching Romanian news. Didn't give a shit. Like bulletproof. But the only reason he's so bulletproof that way is because he knows I'm doing the absolute best the other way. He couldn't be that way if I wasn't trying to get us out. Because then he would try to get out. You need the yin and yang. So like when it was chill time, it was his mental frame. And when it was how do we get out of here, it was my mental frame. But Tristan's superpower genuinely not caring. I can't explain the level of how much it didn't affect him. He didn't bother him at all. I didn't see him sad, nothing. He was smiling. He didn't care.
You consider yourself a stoic. How much more stoic is he than you?
I just think we have different roles, and I think we've evolved into them over the time, because it's not just jail, it's with everything. That's what we are with everything. If there's a business problem, I'm the one who's like, shit, we have to fix this now, shit. And Tristan's the one like, Andrew, you are so ridiculously rich. Chill. But we need that. We need both, right? But he couldn't be that chilled if I wasn't the way I was, because he wouldn't be successful. Totally. So you need the opposites. Yeah. So everyone goes, oh, you and your brother are so close. We're so close because we're actually very different people. But yeah, he was amazing in jail. And even afterwards, I still struggle to sleep. He sleeps fine. Because I think my experience of jail was a far more stressful one. But I adopted that. Now, I'm not saying I couldn't have done what Tristan did. I could have done what Tristan did. If I were to go into jail and say, your MO is to not care, I could not care. But my MO was, how do I get out of this matrix attack? So I was the most stressed I've ever been in my life. So that's carried over. So I don't sleep. He sleeps fine. But he slept fine in jail. So why wouldn't you sleep fine now, right? So yeah, it was interesting, but I have to give him props because it's amazing to have that level of clarity. And he said things which were absolutely and utterly true, things I already knew, but it was nice to hear.
I want to ask you a question on this. So I have 2 boys, right? And one day they're going to watch this. They're not going to watch it right now. They're 11, 9, but they're going to watch this, right? And in school, I'll go and the kids that are, 11, 12, 13, they're like, you Andrew Tate, how was that interview? Oh my God. So 11-year-old kids are watching these types of content, by the way. That's pretty wild where they're at. But here's a question about brothers. There's a lot of brothers out there. As a father, there's certain principles I'm teaching them, okay? One, if you can speak from the idea of how your bond was built based on a man, your father, Emery, injecting certain values and principles on the two of you. You guys better do this. I don't want to see this. And then which part of the code did you guys create? Because there's friendship, but there's brotherhood. There's a very different story.
Absolutely.
How was that developed?
Yeah, so my father, and I have endless stories about my father. A lot of people who dislike me would call him an extremist. I don't think he was an extremist. I truly believe I had the best father on the planet. And from a very young age, he made it clear. He said, look, you're Tates and you're going to have enemies. You're going to have people who are against you. Your best bet is to be a team. So whenever me and Tristan would fight, which happened, we got put in a room together. And we had to sit in that room, and my dad would say 3 hours or 4 hours in silence. He'd sit us down in the room, here, looking at each other, and say, if I hear a noise, I'm starting the time again. And we'd have to just, imagine when you're a kid and you fight and you're furious and you're so mad. And then you end up sitting across from the person you hate. Silent. Because if you make a noise, Dad gets mad. And Dad's outside, right? So just sit there, 2 hours, don't make a noise. We'd stare at each other. And over time, we thought every time Dad was home, we just stopped fighting because it wasn't worth it sitting in this isolation, weird, silent stare thing. Because that's what happened on repeat. It happened like 5 times and we just stopped fighting. We'd fight all the time when Mom was home. And when Dad would come home, we'd literally just look at each other like truce. Like, we don't want to sit and do this thing we had to do. Yeah. So we became a team, and then I think it evolved from there because there's always been a hierarchy. I am the older brother, I'm the bigger brother. He does respect me for that. We both have opinions, but it can be vetoed by me in the end. And we have our specific roles. My specific role is I'm the one who takes the most action. I'm the one who over worries. I believe, especially in business and many other things, I say it to all my staff. I said react fast, react early, like panic early, like panic now. I don't believe in waiting for things. It's just not who I am. I can give you a million different examples. If my email processor, this happened just before my cancellation, said, oh, we'll put your account under review. You'll have an answer in 72 hours. As soon as I get that email, within 3 minutes, I'm like, get a new one. Get a new one. I've never waited for anything in my life and it worked. I've never waited and it worked out fine. Ever. Every time it's your canceled. Every time it's your deleted. Every time I'm like, no, get a new one now. Just get a new one. I need today's email out. Get a new one. We can't get a new one. No one will accept us. Build one. So in a day, we built our own. Like, I'm the panic fast and early guy. Tristan's the complete opposite. And that makes us a perfect synergy. And I super need him and I need his energy. Especially in jail, man. He was fantastic in jail. He was like, Andrew, I'm like, what? He goes, if when you were 18, they told you could be one of the richest, most famous men on earth with street cred in every single city that knows how to speak English, all you had to do was sit in jail for 2 months. Would you have taken it? I was like, yeah. He goes, and what the fuck do you care for? So true. I would have taken that. He goes, and he used to say that, what kind of man hasn't been to jail? That's what he's saying. He used to say, what kind of man hasn't been to jail? He loved jail. He was loving it all the time. He goes, what kind of man hasn't been to jail? Of course I've been to jail. I'm Tristan Tate. Of course I go to jail. But he didn't care. And his energy was amazing to tap into. But we both understand that neither of us could be us without the other one's polar. And that's why we live together. That's why we'll always live together. I've had a lot of women try and say, why do you still live with your brother? Why don't you want to live with me? And I try and explain to them that, 1, I don't think I can be my most competitive without him. 2, I'm most emotionally stable with him. I like the idea. I'm most competitive with him. I'm my best version of me. If it doesn't matter if I have to go into a fight, doesn't matter if I have to run a business, I'm better with Tristan by my side than I would be by myself. And 3, my ideal family life, even my ideal family, the way I live my life now, is very much more like a clan than a nuclear family. I like me, my girl, my kids, Tristan, his girl, his kids, my cousin, his girl, his kids. I like this idea of lots of people. I like that. I like that feeling. So a girl says to me, well, you don't want a family. Like, no, I want a family bigger than you want. I just don't want to just sit with you. I want a lot of people around me, and I think it's better for that. And I think it's better for the children especially also. I think they enjoy it more. But yeah, I've got the best brother on the planet. I truly do. And this is why I'm saying some of our best days of our lives are in jail.
I was going to ask you that. You guys live here in this compound. It's an amazing place. I was going to ask you, you kind of just answered it, but you foresee yourself living with your brother the rest of your life?
1,000%. 1,000%. I can't imagine not wanting to live with Tristan. If you want privacy, you have privacy, right? We have a big house. So it is what it is.
You're on one wing, he's on the other wing.
It is what it is. But I can't imagine him not being around. If there's a problem, I just shout his name, or I just can't imagine it. And I know I'm my best self. Also, there's the overall male competition, the masculine competition that exists between us and between all men. So we live currently here. We got me, my brother's personal trainers here. We got camera guys here. We got war room guys here. We got loads of guys here, but I can give you a million examples. There was a record set next door of a gym, and there's a stair machine, and there was a record set of 188 floors within a time frame. I came along and smashed it with 198. I only held the record for 45 minutes because someone beat it with 2:02. As soon as the record's beaten, everyone gets pissed off and puts their trainers on, puts their shoes on. As soon as it's beaten, everyone gets mad. Who beat it? Who beat it? And everyone goes and did it. And that's how you push yourself to the level you never thought you'd be able to push yourself.
202?
202 floors in 30 minutes. Good luck.
202 30 minutes.
No, that's what that was beaten with. Now it's 222. It's been beaten again. I don't know if I'll ever get to that. But I'm still 198. I got to try again. But the point is, when you have men around you, there's that natural masculine competition, and that's what drives you. If you're going to be the best version of yourself, even if you're a boxer training for a fight, you train with a team. You train with other boxers. You train with other boxers or other trainers. If you're on a football team, you're pushed by your team. I think life should be the same, right? Imagine you took the normal average man and you moved him into a house of 5 people. And you had a philosopher and a fitness expert and a hypnotist, whatever it was. That will make him a more competitive person overall because he's trying to compete with all the other people who are on his level. You don't want to take bitch position. So I don't like the idea of my life without masculine competition. That's why I'll always live with my brother.
And if you met a girl one day who says, Tate, I want to have your babies, live with you, but it's kind of weird that your brother's here, what would you say to her?
Yeah, a few of them have said that. I offer some degree of compromise. I'm like, look, we can have our own house separate if you really want, but I'm going to be spending a lot of time at that other house, including nights over. I want to stay with where my brother is.
So you would compromise a little bit, but he's going to be living next door or with you.
100%. And I don't think, and that may be unusual in the Western world. I don't think that's unusual in many places.
I love that, by the way.
Well, you talk about this all the time.
Oh, you don't even know how much I love that. Yeah, I love that. To me, as a kid, that was a dream. Like if you could, right next to each other, there's a family in our community, billionaire family. They live right next to each other. The oldest son has the biggest house, 12,000 square feet. Then the youngest son has the second biggest house, 8,000 square feet. And the parents live in a 6,000 square foot house right next to each other.
Absolutely.
Okay. The 2 boys have 4 kids. The 8 kids are always together.
Absolutely.
What a great environment.
Absolutely.
It's a dream environment.
Absolutely.
I can't see how a person wouldn't buy into that, the benefits of it.
And there's also benefits for the relationship because I think you have a better relationship with your woman if she can go and talk with other women and be with women and I'm with guys and then you're together sometimes and you can split it out. It's better for everybody. This whole idea of just man, woman, boom, child bang, I understand where it's come from. I'm not saying it's all typically bad, but I do think that in those scenarios, there's a lot of men who are particularly miserable, particularly men, especially. And the idea of a clan and having that team around you, I love that. I wouldn't live any other way. I love living that way.
Well, being born and raised in Miami, there's a lot of Latin culture there.
Yep.
And, the American friends, they just move out, move on their own. That's what they do. But in Latin culture, the abuela's living in the house, the family's living in there, the women are all kind of congregated together. It's a different world.
We can also discuss it financially, right? If you're a man and a woman and you have 3 boys and they're, let's say, traditional, Western, whatever, they all go and pay 3 different rents and they all move in with their girlfriends and everyone's getting wrecked, right? If you all stay together and combine your income, you also do much better financially. This is how a lot of immigrants even survived, especially Muslim immigrants in England.
I've heard you tell the story about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, they all stay together in one big house. They all pool their incomes. You have a bunch of people with average jobs and Ferraris on the drive. And then they buy the house they're in. Then they buy another. You pool the incomes. If you all split and separate and just spread out, you're just paying all different rents, all different electricity bills, and you just go broke. You have to think of the last name and the generation and the clan as a whole. So yeah, I love the idea of living with my brother. I'll never live without him. And his woman can move in, of course. His kids can be around me. Of course, I'm uncle. Why not? I have no problem with that.
Connect is an application which allows you to take a minute to connect with influencers from all around the world. My name is Andrew Tate, and I'm available to speak directly to you on Connect.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.
The car. I just want other people to not be able to have it. And I just want to be able to say, look, I can spend $6 million on WhatsApp in 10 minutes.
Who are these other people?
Other rich people who have to think about it or finance it or contemplate it.
Correct.
Or sell a house.
Right.
I just want to be able to like, bing, bing, took it. Ha, ha, ha.
Instant gratification, impulsive? What?
I think it's just about the others losing. I think the world has tried very hard to breed this out of men, but I am unapologetic about it. And I'm not afraid to admit it that I am absolutely interested in conquest.
I'm interested in peacocking my feathers and being the best. I'm interested in showing off. I'm interested in alpha male high. Look at me. I have everything. I can do everything. Look at me. This is who I am. And they say that this is all bad and toxic masculinity, but that's again just a massive psyop. The entire world was built off the back of toxic masculinity. All the high buildings in Mumbai are built by men who want to prove themselves and say, look what I can do. I can literally go and build a building that's 100 stories high. You need an ego. And I'm ego driven and ego fueled, and I don't let it control me, but satisfying my ego makes me happy, and feeling pride makes me happy.
How do you prevent the ego to sabotage you?
Well, the ego sabotages you when you allow it to delude you. And this is what a lot of people do, because they'll have an ego without the real world accomplishments, and then they become deluded, and then they become non-competitive. To remain effective, you need to be very firmly in the real world. I have a massive ego, but I'm also a realist. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm bad at. I don't apologize ever for saying what I'm good at, and I will sit here and admit the things I cannot do. But as long as you have feedback that you're going to take on board and you have a good team around you and you're also self-analyzing all the time, then you can remain a realist and an egotist, and then I think you'll do very well. The masculine ego has built the entire world. It's the reason nearly every single man ever went to war and conquered anything. The masculine ego, in fact, it's very interesting. I was talking to a girl the other day, and I was saying that men crave adventure more than women. She was saying, oh, no, I like adventure. I don't just want to sit at home. I like to go out and explore things and go to restaurants, etc. I said, no, what you like to do is run around, go into restaurants and going shopping. You call that an adventure. Masculine adventure is the men who decided to go to Antarctica and freeze to death. There's no shopping. There's no sushi. Yeah. They just felt like they had to do it to satisfy their ego and to place their names in the history books.
True.
So there's something inside of every man that feels that, and they try and breed it out of men because they're afraid of that masculine spirit, because that masculine spirit is hard to conquer, and they want to conquer us all. But I have no problems admitting that I am motivated by the dark of the yin and the yang, and I have no problems admitting that my ego motivates me and that I'm motivated by pride, and I like to feel proud, and I do things that allow me to feel proud. And as long as I stay realistic and I don't become egocentric, then I feel like it makes me as competitive as possible.
So you keep upskilling yourself?
Well, you have to always push the limits, right? What's the point in living otherwise?
What are you doing right now to just keep yourself up?
Well, this is the thing. It's in general. It doesn't matter if you go to the gym and you try and lift more weights. It doesn't matter if you try and make more money that you can't possibly spend.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you need more beautiful children. Yeah. You always need something to do, right? And you always need somewhere to push. They say when you retire, you die. I would argue that's probably true. Or sharks die.
No, that's true. That is true.
Of course it's true.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of men out there who perhaps are battling with themselves because the matrix and system has told them, no, you're not supposed to think that way. You're not supposed to be that way. You're egotistical. You're driven by pride. You should get rid of all that. And you should, I don't know what, become soppy goo instead, just some porridge mess that the matrix can program. But no, you're supposed to wake up and look in the mirror and say, this is my name. This is who I am. I'm going to be the best version of myself, and everybody's going to respect me, and I'm going to force them to, because that's the way the world works. Respect can be squeezed out of people. They don't have to like you. You can't squeeze someone liking you. You can't grab space-time from the universe and force everybody to like you, but you can force everybody to respect you, whether they want to or not. All of my haters respect me. They sit there, this guy's so bad, so bad, so bad, but they can't say I'm unsuccessful. They can't say I'm not intelligent. They can't say I'm not rich. I'm still worthy of all their time and attention. They've dedicated their lives to me, so I've forced them to respect me. If I was a nobody, then, and they wouldn't be reporting on this garbage case of mine. So you can force respect from people. And this is actually most observable with women. There's a whole lot of women who are dating men they don't even like.
Yeah.
And they're sleeping with men they don't even like, but they respect him.
Because it's the security that they offer, right?
That's right. The security they offer and the respect. And they can say, I don't even like him that much. In fact, I hate him, but I just do as he says. Why is that? Because they respect you. So I'm driven by that. And I guess, I've talked to psychiatrists, and there's some psychiatrists who would argue that it's insecurity to feel like you need to prove yourself to the world all the time. And I think that's part of the psyop. They convince you you're insecure if you want to prove you're capable. If you want to prove that you're different and intelligent and interesting, you're insecure.
They always say that you're born abundant any which ways. Then why is the rest of the world poor?
Well, there you go. Yeah. But they say you should have no interest in what people think about you. That makes you insecure. And that is the largest psyop in history. To wake up and say, I'm not going to be successful. I'm not going to be strong. I'm not going to be interesting. I'm not going to go out there and test myself. And I'm not going to put honor on my last name, because I would hate for people to think I'm insecure. I'm secure. So it doesn't matter if you think I'm a loser, and it doesn't matter if I am a loser. So I'm just going to sit at home and I'm secure. No, it's not insecurity. It's called duty to your last name and honor. And That's just another one of the many different tentacles inside of the psyop octopus trying to snatch any motivation left from the masculine spirit. If I was a man who was unsuccessful and I hadn't met my physical capability or my financial capability or my mental capability or my spiritual capability, I would be insecure. I would sit and say, this is a failed version of who Andrew Tate could be, and I'm not happy with who it is. And I think that every man should be like that, so he gets up off his ass and does something.
But how do you have such incredible self-worth? How obviously it was instilled within you because we are the sum total of our parents, right? In the first 7 years of our life.
I think so, yes. But also competence is confidence. I think they go hand in hand. You're going to be confident in doing things you're good at. And I understood I had to get good at things from a very young age. And I was challenged from a very young age to constantly test myself in endless competition. My whole life has been competition.
Correct.
It was chess tournaments from a very young age.
Yeah.
And then it was professional fighting. My whole life's been a massive competition.
Right.
And I understood that there's winners and losers. And that's how the world operates. To this day, right now, it's the same thing. And you just get good at the idea of competition. I think there's a lot of people out here who don't realize they're in a fight, or they know they're in a fight, but they want to ignore the fact they're in a fight because they don't want to have to accept that they're losing. So they wake up and say, oh, I'm just a man living life.
Bro, they're too comfortable.
Yeah, they're too comfortable. No,
bro, I will. Experience.
You need the bad things also, just as we talked about earlier about haters, and you need the light and the dark and the yin and the yang, thousands of years old. You need the two. This is what's very interesting. The point you made is very, very, very pertinent. There's a lot of people who complain about the bad things that happen in their life, not understanding that without the bad things, you'd have no life at all. You need all of the bad things. You need the mental struggle. You need to go through things which you regret. You need to sit there so that if you've never regretted any action you've ever taken, how can you sit and make a intelligent decision for the future?
You cannot.
You can't do it.
Yeah,
you need to sit and say, well, I felt the sting of regret for X. I don't want to feel the sting of regret for Y. You need this experience. And that's what life is all about. People think that life is just the good times. And this is the massive misconception. Love is a perfect example. Let's use love. Because people think being in love is holding hands and I hold hands and we cuddle in bed. I love them. Love is the whole spectrum. Love is missing them. Love is breaking up with them. Love is being sad they don't text you. Love is the whole circle. There's no up without down. Anything that has the ability to emotionally affect you positively has the ability to emotionally affect you negatively. There's nothing in the world that can only affect you in one direction. Even something as asinine and stupid as an object. We'll go back to cars because I used it earlier. If I buy a car for €6 million and it makes me very happy, if that car sets on fire at random, I'm going to be extremely angry. This is what happens. If it's a Nissan, it won't make me happy. But if it sets on fire, I won't be sad. They're directly correlated. Anything in the world that makes you happy that you currently have, whether it's a person, whether it's a job, whether it's a scenario, whatever it is, also has the exact inverse capability to make you extremely angry. So you have to accept this.
You're quite detached, man. You're quite detached from everything that you also own. You say you love it, but at the same time, you're okay with letting go.
Well, that's because I think I have confidence in myself to get it all back. And that's also because I have quite a lot of emotional control. And then perhaps maybe I'm a little bit of a sadist. I don't know. But when bad things happen to me,
you love it.
I kind of enjoy it. And I think that maybe it's perhaps I just enjoy it for the story. Perhaps my whole life is not about trying to find comfort. It's trying to find challenges, and it's trying to find stories. I'll be very honest with you. Even in jail, my brother and I kept saying this is probably the best story, one of our best ever stories. That's what life is about to me. And if you were to say to me right now, Andrew, do you want to spend a year living in comfort and flying around the world and sleeping with girls and doing whatever, or do you want to spend a year in a jail in Mongolia? I'd probably choose the jail. Maybe I'm a sadist. Maybe I'm nuts. But for me, it's all about the challenges. It's not about the comforts. That's what I'm interested in, and I want to have stories to die with. So when bad things happen,
but then what happens to your wife? What happens to your
well, exactly. That's part of the story.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the best parts.
All right.
What's going to happen to them?
Yeah, dude.
Maybe will she stay loyal? Of course, I'm the top G, but come on. But what happens to her? What happens to my kid? How much did I miss my child when I couldn't see them? How did they get to Mongolia to even come visit me? Was I allowed visits? Did I get in a fight in there? Did I die in jail? Who knows? But this is the whole point. Maybe I'm just addicted to the idea of having stories worth telling, because I think if your life just goes well all the time, you know what's really interesting, because the world's so changed.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you out over here, but have you programmed them?
Have I programmed myself to think that way?
Yeah, programmed your wives, your kids that this is the that I'm going to go through right now. You guys better be prepared.
Well, I think anyone who's with me understands that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
There's certainly a chance that something bad can happen at any time. They're very concerned. My woman says to me every single night, like, I hope you wake up tomorrow without a police raid. Like, it's just, who knows, right? It's unpredictable.
It's stressful, dude.
And it's stressful for the woman more than me because I'm at peace with all of this. In fact, I truly enjoy it. And this ties into what I was about to say. I think that, like, I can tell you a story. 10 years ago, maybe, I bought my first Lamborghini. When I bought that Lamborghini, I was in England. I bought it in London. I was still in Luton a lot because my mother lived there. That was talk of the town. Everyone talked about it. Everyone cared. Facebook was on fire. Tate has a Lambo. Yeah. It was a big deal. Every time I parked it anywhere, there was crowds around it. Every time I was driving, people took videos of it, etc. And that was in England, a wealthy country. Here we are 10 years later. We're in Bucharest, Romania, technically the poorest country in Europe. You'll see a Lambo every 5 minutes and nobody cares. Nobody cares. So I feel like all the light and all the positive, now that social media has shined so much light on people's lives, and what people do is they curate their lives to only show the positive, right? So you can have people with very normal jobs and basically no money. But if you look at their Instagram feed, they look rich because they've taken that one time they went to dinner and they got the 25 different angles and they went on 2 holidays that year. And
Bro,
they got all the...
I used to do that years back. But when I had my awakening, I was like, this is because now that I can actually afford it, I never even felt the need to put that up on my Instagram.